Hey guys, AnaFan97203 here. So I've played a lot of games in my life, as you guys probably figured out based on my channel in general. And I've heard a lot of people coin the term immersion for a lot of those games, saying, "Oh, this game isn't very immersive. Oh, this game is very immersive." And although that is a very real concept that should be considered while building and playing games, they haven't looked at it the right angle. Now I'm not gonna sit here and say, "Oh, I'm the authority here. These are just my opinions." But when it comes down to it, this is my theory as to what makes games immersive and what makes games not immersive. Now, as you can see in front of you, there is a picture of a Minecraft world of some sort. And that's exactly where we're going to start. We're going to start with the idea of this game being either an open world or each level in itself being a miniature, linear open world, if you get what I'm saying. Like each one is its own sector, its own location that has been built from the ground up. We need to treat it like that, not set of experience after experiences after experiences, because then we get different ideas as to what needs to happen. Although the basic idea of the experience after experience after experience is the one that you're going to think would work, building it up as a location in general is going to be able to help you capture one thing that we're going to talk about a little bit later. Now, when it comes to building a video game world, in general, what you want to be looking at here is not whether or not it's immersive as is. What you're going to want to be looking at instead is it's actually, well, does it have a theme? And this is where a lot of people kind of struggle. See, the basic idea of immersion is how realistic is it? How many game things are there that pull me out of the immersion? They're not looking at it the right way. You see, there are some games where you can add in all these interesting features, but none of them are realistic, and that's going to pull you right out of the immersion. Oh, there's a Mario with an energy sword, and there's all sorts of crap in the background, and a lighthouse, and a giant beast, and a guy with a pill head. I don't know. And you're going to say, that's not immersive at all. And you're not wrong. But it's not necessarily because realistically none of this makes sense. It's because all of this is just random. So there's no theme. Can you tell me what the theme is here? Because I can't. I don't even know that this is a platformer, even. I don't know what the theme is here. I really don't. And the same goes for a lot of other games. See, this is clearly taken right out of Fallout 4, but it's been modded. Now, that's not a bad thing. But notice how the theme of the post-apocalypse is kind of gone. It takes you out of the immersion. No longer do you feel like you're living in this post-apocalyptic world. It's not because this is unrealistic, because there are many things in Fallout that are unrealistic. But it's the fact that there are things that just don't make sense for an apocalyptic world. Things that don't fit in. Things that aren't... They're not Fallout, to be fair. They're just, to be blunt, they're not Fallout. Now, is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. Because, I mean, this is more of a Skyrim example, but you would play that. I know I would. But that doesn't fit with Skyrim. It doesn't fit with it at all. It doesn't even fit with Mario. This is just something else. But then you look at Skyrim and you say, oh, well, it's supposed to be all about taming dragons and fighting off, Alduin and all this. But then you do have the people who are doing the crazy things like we saw. So what makes it immersive? You're saying the theme, but what about the theme makes it immersive? Well, here's a picture from Outlast. Outlast 2, to be precise. And some people are going to say that's really immersive and cool. And at first you're going to think that. But then you get into the gameplay and you start to realize everything is pitch black. I can't see. The theme has to be one that the player is going to be interested in, the player is going to enjoy existing in during his play session, well, his or her play session. And it all has to be the one theme, united. So when Outlast goes with its religious symbolism, you could say that's the theme, but then everything else is all about you're in the pitch black, and then things cut away to a whole nother story that kind of fit the theme, but kind of don't, and it's so not immersive. None of it fits. It's not due to a lack of trying. Clearly, the people who made Outlast 2 tried very hard, but they didn't pull it off. So we're going to talk about Resident Evil 7, because this game, I feel, is extremely immersive, at least in the first half. Maybe not the second half as much, but in the first half it most definitely is. And yeah, your hand is just stapled back on. You can't get farther from realistic. Yeah, when you lift your hand up to look at your watch, things appear in front of you and you can see everything that's on your person along with what you think you should be doing right now. That's not realistic. That's so far from realistic. Everything in that game is really far from realistic. But that's okay. Because it's all within the same theme of helplessness. There's nothing you could do to stop your hand from getting chopped off. That fits with the theme. Your goals are basic. They're escaping. They're just trying to survive. They're basic goals that in the end are just, I want to get out of here alive. It's a very helpless goal. In your inventory management system, you have so little space to carry so many different items you need. But at the same time, all those items are so limited. You're helpless. And even when you combine things, you still are always running low on everything. It's a feeling of helplessness. It constantly is. And talking about the combination system, you need 2 different items to make one item. And even then, what if you make the wrong item? It's all about choices. It's all about this idea of being helpless against unkillable monsters. I'm not going to spoil Resident Evil 7. I really think anyone who hasn't played it should play it. It's a fantastic game. But I mean, your main bad guys don't die. You can do whatever you want, but they won't go down. Everything in the game goes towards that theme of helplessness, of loneliness. You feel throughout that game like everything in the house is out to kill you, and that's because for the most part it is. And on top of that, you feel like you're never prepared, and when you start to feel prepared, you realize they're just preparing me because they're about to throw something at me that I can't handle. It's insane, but it works so well. I mean, so fantastically well. Even when you get more inventory space, you need room for your weapons, you need room for the keys, you need room for your components, you need room for the different items that you're going to be combining to make all sorts of different interesting items. I mean, come on. And keep in mind, later on in the story, when you start to figure out what's going on, or when you try and do things, it's made pretty clear that you have no control over what's going on. You're just a component in what happens. Though, again, I will not spoil anything for you. And in Outlast, they could have done this. They could have had this theme of helplessness, which they tried, and they nailed it in the first one, but kind of missed that in the second one with all the extra darkness and the heavy-handed religious themes. They could have had it, but they didn't. They strayed away from the theme that had made them so successful in the first place, and that cost them immersion. Now, when you look at a game world, you can often be able to say, well, that's immersive and that's not, but now hopefully with this video you can kind of figure out why something isn't immersive. You can step back and say, does it fit with the theme or does it not? Does it help me understand the basic idea of helplessness of the game? Does it help me realize the gun-toting awesome core of this game? Is it all about the relationship between these 2 characters? Because if anything isn't, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can take away from the immersion. But with that said, back to my Fallout and Skyrim examples, they're not immersive. In many ways, they're very far from immersive. But is that a bad thing? See, a lot of people are going to say, yes, that's horrible. You can't get immersed. But that doesn't matter. So you're not immersed in the game world, you're just enjoying it. So although I will leave you with this hypothesis of mine that immersion is not about your heads-up display, that it's not about how realistic everything is, how it's actually about the theme, I also want to leave you with the idea that maybe immersion isn't what you should be looking for in the games that you might think it is. Because in Fallout, all I hear is, oh, there's an immersive new mod. But why would I bother when I can have fun just running around blowing things up with a mini-nuke? Now keep in mind, again, this is all very speculative. It's all my theory, and I would love if you guys gave your opinions in the comments, because unlike my other theories where it's based on data, this really is more how games feel to you. There's no studies, there's no data that's been gathered about this topic. It's practically impossible to pull that off. Though if someone could set up an experiment like that, I would be very interested to see the results. But nonetheless, if you do have a differing opinion, which I expect at least a few of you will, please do voice it in the comments section below. I would love to hear your side of the equation, I suppose. But otherwise, that's all for now. Like and subscribe, and guess I'll see you guys in the next video.